Right, we seem to be live, everybody. I've lost communications with the final control. This is an incredibly distressing development in my life. Anyway, here we are. Good morning to you. I hope you are all full of joy and well here as the dawn breaks in northeastern South Africa, quite possibly the world's most magnificent country. My name is James Henry. On camera today, Wium with an array of different kinds of gloves on his hands. There we go. Very, very nice. You're on a live dawn safari on this Father's Day weekend. It's Saturday, of course, in this part of the world. Saturday in most parts of the world, but I suppose you're still on Friday in many parts of the eastern United States, and indeed western United States. Our plan this morning is to head down here and see if we can't find some leopard tracks. We're in the kind of vicinity that Shadow and Karula have been knocking about with their little babies, and I'm really quite desperately hoping to see Shadow fairly soon. I haven't seen her with her youngster, so maybe today will be my day. Now, and indeed your day. We're on a live safari. Please do talk to us. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter is the best way to get hold of us. Also out today, Jamie Patterson, the elegant antelope of Djuma, as she's driving around with David. And I think they're going to the north to see if they can find some lion tracks. And then they're going to check on the new hyenas, which will be very exciting. Brent Leo Smith is out with Herbert and Johnson, tracking away. So with any luck, if we do find some tracks, they will be able to help us find things. So that is the general state of play at this stage. I'm just going to try and figure out why I can't hear anything through my earpiece. And while I do that, let's go across to Jamie and get an introduction from her.
Good morning and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. I hear that James is being really nice about me, the elegant antelope. That's not entirely true. In fact, James has seen me fall down, stub my toe, knock my knee more times than I could possibly count. So, very kind of him, but I'm not entirely convinced. But yes, good morning. My name is Jamie. And this morning I have Dazzling Dave on camera with me for the first time in a long time. Welcome back on the back of the vehicle, Dave. As you know, we've been frantically rehearsing for the television appearance that will be happening this afternoon for us and tomorrow afternoon also for us, Central African time. So we're terribly excited for our Father's Day specials. I'm currently running on the gentle fluttering of butterflies, which is entirely tolerable. I have a feeling, though, that those butterflies may metamorphosize to sort of racing honey badgers, tumbling honey badgers, by the time this afternoon arrives. And I've stopped because there are fresh lion tracks crossing the road, which is good. That is what we were hearing last night before we all went to bed. Sort of try and show you. The light's not really right for it, but there you go. Let me just dispose of my hot water bottle and I'll hop out because I know they're not entirely clear. I've got to do this very gently though because my earpiece is a little bit decrepit. Oh dear, now it's wrapped around the door handle. That's okay. We'll figure it out eventually. There we go. Got to be gentle. Connor gave me a very strict telling off yesterday afternoon about being gentle with the earpieces, which I have taken thoroughly to heart and will obey without question. So we've actually got two, have we got two sets here? All right, let me just double check. Bit of a strange angle. I think it's just one. I think he just did a strange turn when he walked along here. But for those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is what a lion track looks like. The back pad is here, so essentially the equivalent of the lion's heel. The toes are here, and then his next foot fell all the way over here. So he did a strange stride when he walked here because his other foot has fallen. What did he do here? He's done a most peculiar sort of side step, unless this is I think he turned like this. So that's why his feet are all muddled up. His front foot is in front of his back foot, which is very unusual. Either the back foot falls on top of the front foot or it goes ahead. Just checking, you never know. The reason that I know they're so fresh is because this is a main road. It's a main road that is regularly driven at pretty much most times of the day, except during the curfew that is in place, which means that we are probably not the first people to come trundling along here. and they haven't been completely driven over. Now it's interesting because there's very fresh line tracks around quarantine clearings, which is about a mile in the southerly direction. We're not going to follow these tracks straight away. We're actually going to continue on a little bit further to the east and just check the boundary thoroughly, because I suspect it might be the male that met up with the female. Their tracks were going towards the pan earlier. Let's just investigate. Oh yes, you see. Buffels cut line. The place of many lion tracks going backwards and forwards. Because now I've got female tracks coming in this way, following that enormous buffalo herd that unfortunately you didn't see but was on Juma yesterday. There you go, the female tracks and a second set of female tracks. Oh, sorry, Dave. That's hugely inconvenient. I'm sorry. There's one for you. There's one over there that you should be able to. Just making sure Dave's on his toes, obviously. There you go. A buffalo track on the left and a lion track on the right. Could the tracks get more iconic on this beautiful winter's morning? And Joey in Australia, on the subject of tracking, would like to know, he says, expressing utmost faith in our tracking abilities, and a very good morning to you, Joey. Joey says that he knows we can track predators, but do we think we could track something like a kudu or a wildebeest? I could track a large buffalo herd. That's probably cheating, isn't it? I mean, when 1,000 walk through an area, they somewhat inevitably leave a little bit of a trace. Joey, yes, we can. Are we out of practice? Yes, absolutely we are. It's been a long time since I've had to do that. And there are probably less, if I had to put them on a scale, probably about the same as tracking a lion, definitely easier than tracking a leopard. The difficulty is because there's so many antelope species that wander about, it would be difficult to identify an individual kudu set of tracks and track that individual kudu, if that makes sense. Okay, tracks all over the show here. Let me just think about this. They are also, unfortunately, heading straight towards that hyena. And I'm so glad you got to see this. Yesterday, saw the emergence of that tiny little baby. I saw it yesterday afternoon, and I have to say, I think that little baby is maybe 10 days old. I mean, we couldn't actually come to a consensus, but its ears are still folded back. Its ears haven't even popped forward. That's a really tiny little thing. Okay, let's check around here. While I concentrate on tracking the predators and not necessarily the antelope species, let's go back to James, find out his plans.
I was driving along, scouring the landscape, thinking that I was being so careful, and as we drove past this area, Wium Braak said to me, "Would you like to see an elephant?" At which point I said, "Yes, please." And so he said, "Okay." And there is the elephant that I drove straight past. So that's quite nice. Young bull, it looks like. I don't know where the rest of his family or the rest of his herd are. Right, tracks of Karula, everybody, on Weaver's Nest. Just wait 1 second. There's more elephants. Brent, I'll come give you a hand in that area. Please keep me posted. I'm on Philemon's cut line. Okay. So just over there, we've got tracks of Karula. Brent and the trackers are on those tracks. So we're not going to rush over there. We'll disturb the area, but we're going to sort of stay in the vicinity and hopefully we'll be able to see the leopard and the little cubs. Anyway, let's go back towards the elephant there. And Cindy, you're in North Carolina, and you've got an interesting question about the carnage seemingly being meted out on the wilderness by the elephants. Cindy, yes, elephants are damaging, but this ecosystem, along with the elephants, have evolved together. And this carnage that is apparently, so destructive to our human eye is a very necessary and normal part of this ecosystem's function. So we see trees that have been pushed over. Many of those trees don't die. They've evolved to cope with that sort of thing. Some do die, and that just keeps their population numbers under control. And, I mean, there is a great concern always amongst human beings. They see these huge trees being pushed over, and they say, oh, well, you see elephants are so destructive. Well, yes, that's true. But, like I say, that's how it is with elephants. And if you're going to pump water, which all of the landowners in the Sabi Sands do, then you must expect to have elephants. Normally at this time of the year, before the advent of human beings, there wouldn't have been much water in this area at this time of year. The elephants would have concentrated on the perennial rivers. They find that very difficult now, of course, because many of the perennial rivers aren't so perennial anymore because of human activity outside the reserve. But, I mean, in very simple terms, to be pumping water for the other animals and then being surprised that elephants are here destroying the trees is, well, it's just not logical. But at the same time, it's completely normal for elephants to push over trees and to wreak the sort of carnage that we see, especially during a drought, and that's totally normal. So, Cindy, I mean, the other thing with your question, which is very nice, is that we tend to have a thought that I've forgotten completely what I was going to say to you now. The Game Drive radio is incessant in my ear. We tend to have a thought that, we see a landscape in a certain state over the course of a season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, up to 10 seasons, when the cycles of dynamic equilibrium that go in an area like that are well beyond that of a human lifespan. So while some of our viewers have been watching Safari Life for 9 years, that is not even half a blink of an eye in the lifespan of an ecosystem like this. And so the landscape will change over the 9 years that you watch, and it will change, if you watch for another 50 years, it will change profoundly after that. And eventually it will come back to look like this, but that could be in 1,000 years from now. So change is not necessarily a bad thing. And Acadia, you're wondering on a slightly less philosophical level, which is quite nice, do adult elephants ever lie down? They do sometimes, much less often and much less frequently than do, excuse me there, a bit of air popped up me esophagus, much less frequently than young elephants. But they do lie down sometimes, and what they'll do is lie against a dam wall or against a termite mound normally. So they don't quite lie down, but they sort of lean, and then they'll stand up again. It's not very easy for them to get up. They can get up again. It's not a problem for them, but it's not that easy. And also, remember, they've got those massive organs all over their body. So if they lie on their sides, you find that one side of the body starts to get crushed pretty quickly. So mostly they sleep standing up. The babies definitely do lie down. Right, good elephant sighting to start with. Let's go and find some leopards, Wium. What do you say? Oh, what a good idea. Shamsan, you were obviously with Wium and I the other morning, and you say we need horns on the front of the vehicle to find leopards. Shamsan? Yes, possibly, but I don't want to get out and hurt my leg again. Remember, cut my hand, yes. Yes, Wium and I hurt ourselves deeply the other morning when we were in our quest to see Sandile. Well, there are vague reports of him coming out of the Manileti, which is a long way from where we are here now. I'm not sure where he is. He will roam widely. And for those of you who don't know, Sandile, of course, one of our favourite sons, 18 to 9, well, he's 19 months old now. Now, Karen, you're in Tanzania. Wonderful question from you, and it's very much along the lines of the question that we had from Cindy in North Carolina. You say, and you're in Tanzania, which I think is just fantastic that you're watching us here. Thank you. You say, is there a good ratio of animals in the national park? Again, I'd say 20 years ago, human beings would have said, you know, yes or no, and they would have then tried to manage that. I think, thankfully, we're coming to the realization that to make that kind of judgment call on a piece of land that's 8.5 million acres or 3.5 million hectares is ridiculous. Simply because we have no idea, or very little idea, of all the variables that are involved in an ecosystem like this. So to say, well, yes, there should be X number of impala, Y number of elephants, Z number of nyala, etc., would be crazy, because we don't actually understand fully what's going on here. And so it's much better to just let it be than try and make interventions when we don't actually understand what we're doing. And of course, the classic case that I've mentioned many times is that of the elephant culling. And for many years, you know, they culled elephants in the Kruger National Park. I'm going to come back to this discussion now because it's a long one. Jamie has got a large cat to show you.
We do indeed. What a pleasant surprise. This lioness very much on a mission. Somewhere she's gone straight towards the hyena den, and exactly where we saw those tracks of the other females disappearing. Let's try and stay with her. One of the Nkuhumas for sure. This is such an exciting way to start off our morning. What a pleasant surprise that was. Okay, let's go, because this block is not an easy one. And we arrived just at the same time as another vehicle, obviously. We both came around the corner at exactly the same time. And there she was. What a pleasant surprise. Here we go. She's up ahead of us now. Is she going to join the rest of them on a buffalo kill is what I would like to know. I have a sneaking suspicion that might be the case. Said that there was there's another lioness. How did we miss the first one? Goodness gracious, Dave, you and I need a smack. Whoopsie. 2 lionesses, even better. Oof, and into this drainage line. I'm not going to be able to follow them through here. I can't risk this vehicle. Before television, they've got enormously large bellies. Standing by. Sorry, guys, just need to chat. Oh. Copy that, Joe. I'm not going to go driving in. Sorry, guys, we're just coordinating. So one of the vehicles has just said to me he thinks that these lionesses have cubs in this drainage line, which is exactly what we've been suspecting. Now, as you know, we are incredibly sensitive with the way that we handle den sites and cub sites. And I think that these lionesses could be, with their full bellies, they could also be on their way back towards feeding their cubs. So what we're going to do for now is we're going to take a long way around. If the cubs are here, they're going to be in the drainage line itself. We're going to go and see if we can find a place to park on top of the drainage line, and we're going to try and stop there. And we're going to look down. But what they're doing is they're really helping us in a huge respect if they are going back to those lion cubs, because then we know where they are, and we won't accidentally go blundering into them for a start. Oh, goodness. Everybody hold on to your seats. It's going to get a little bit interesting. This way. And Marianne, I agree. I think that she's just come from a kill. And that's why she's got that bloody face of hers. Okay, let's just stop here for a second, guys. I don't see them. I think they've gone already. They've gone over the top and into the drainage line. Do you see them anywhere, Dave? I don't either. Have you still got visual? Sorry, guys. Copy that, thank you. I'm going to try and get my mover to the edge there. I'm not going to go any further. Guys, this is so exciting. Okay, we're going to go nice and carefully. Can we do this, Dave? We're going to make it. We're going to make it. Okay, everybody watch your heads. Oh, Dave is doing some serious juggling. Okay. Sure. Peekaboo. Lions. Lions. Okay. I don't want to take the vehicle any further than just a little bit beyond this bush. The den site is probably, if this is the case, if there is a den site here, it's probably somewhere in this really dense vegetation around us. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sit for 1 second. We're going to be, as soon as that vehicle engine goes off, we're going to be absolutely quiet. I'm going to see if we can't hear, I'm taking my earpiece out, see if we can't hear contact calls to cubs, because they haven't come up on the other side of this drainage line. Just going to wait. So the sound that we're looking for is an almost ow, ow, ow sound. Incredible sound. I think, given our patterns of our big cats, there's a very good chance, you can't see it from the angle that I've put poor Dave at, which isn't an easy one, just by the way, but there's a concrete block that is inside this drainage line, and I have a suspicion that they might be in there. The fact that they haven't come up on the other side suggests to me that that might be the case. Let's just wait for a second before we go blundering in. Now about 100 meters, let me orientate myself here quickly. The Vubu Road Den is there, so about 100 meters that way is the old hyena den on Gallagher shortcut. There hasn't been a sound from these lionesses or alarm calls, so I think they've stopped somewhere here. You see how they were so purposefully marching. Now, Elvis has gone all the way around onto Gallagher shortcut to go and have a look for them. Just listening quietly for a second. This would be so incredible. We've known for a while that the den site is somewhere here, and they've given us a really nice indication. And Jen in Minnesota, speaking of our cubs, and while we just wait patiently to hear what's going on in the bush, you wanted to know if we know how many cubs there are. There's 3 that we know of from the Nkuhuma Pride, with a female from Torchwood, or not from Torchwood, but she's denned inside Torchwood. Sorry, I'm just listening to the Game Drive channel as well. So there's 3 for certain in Torchwood. The other one we don't know yet. We did know, and there's that female that we saw the suckle marks of. We've suspected for ages that she's been in this drainage line somewhere. We just haven't worked out exactly where they are. Wait, hold on. I thought I heard alarm calls. The sticklers are a little bit unhappy, tiny little brown birds. They're chirping away on the other side, but that's not necessarily lions. Okay, Beanie's got to go. Both ears need to be in use. Okay, we're gonna try reposition one more time. So while we do this, see if we can't work out exactly where they've gone. I'm not going to go into the drainage line with them. If we can't see them, we can't see them. That's just is how it is. And there's a certain feeling when one goes walking into a lioness with cubs that is indescribable, because she definitely lets you know that you have trespassed far too close to her and her brood. So while we reposition ever so slightly, I'm going to send you back to James, who has a beautiful sunrise on this glorious morning.
It was almost noon by the time Jamie came across to us there. Anyway, there we are. There's the beautiful sunrise. Jamie with wonderful lions, and with any luck they'll pop out again, hopefully with little babies. Now, good news is that the tracks of this leopardess, Karula, the 12-year-old famous queen of Djuma, are knocking about this area. Taxon's also helping out here. So we're just going to drive gently along the road here. The tracks are off sort of towards where the sun was. That's where they were last seen. Don't know if she's walking with the babies at the moment, so we're going to just scour around here. Babies are now 4.5 months old. If we find them on their own in a tree without a kill, we'd be prepared to view them. If not, otherwise we, would leave them and wait for Karula to come back. So let's just drive very gently along here, and we'll see. Wium and I have just come past Treehouse Dam, aka Treehouse Mining Excavation. Now, if you're wondering why it is that the dams look like open-cast mines at the moment, it's because their landowner has he's done quite a lot of research into the predictions for the weather, and because we've had such a dry season, apparently there's quite a good chance of there being very heavy flooding this year. So he's just preparing for that. Because, of course, very heavy flooding will push away those dams, the little ones that we had. Not convinced that that would be an entirely bad thing, but that's the way it is. Siberia Zumi, a very interesting request from you. You want to see a small rodent. I will do my best. You say other than a squirrel. I think the only rodent I've seen other than that on this reserve was a gerbil, a bushveld gerbil, and we do see them from time to time. They're actually great little creatures. But the other sort of large rodent that you might find in this area, the biggest rodent of Africa, of course, is a porcupine. And wrong time of the day, really, but maybe we'll be lucky. Siberia, it's just very odd for somebody to ask to see a rodent. I'm very pleased that you like rodents. That's great. What do you think they are of leopards? Wimpy has spotted some tracks. We're just going to go back and see what they were. Where the what's up? Oh gosh, there's a big stick in the way. The elephants have pushed. We'll just go and quickly see here. What do you think, Wium? Really? Okay, hang on 1 sec. Wimpy has spotted something. He's demanding that I go and check what it is. We'll just walk very gently, because if it is baby leopards, their mummy could be around and she'll be very cross. Where are these baby leopards? There.
Yeah. Is that a baby civet?
No, it isn't. It is unquestionably that of a cat.
There's a big one over there.
Where?
Yeah, somewhere.
Okay. Right, everybody, let's just have a quick look around here. Spy out the place. That is brilliant spotting from here. Here she is. That's a baby. Now they're leading straight towards this termite mound over here. If they see me on foot, they're likely, because they don't really know what I am, to just stay where they are. If Mum's around, she might slink off or give a bit of a growl. I'm just going to walk gently down to over here. Wium, will you tell me if my sound goes?
Cool.
I can't see anything further. I mean, they could be basically sitting 4 feet from me. I'm going to go walk around this bush and come back to the car. Yes, here are definite tracks. Could be the adult as well. That's Karula. Just listening carefully. I can hear not leopard. The termite mound looks like the spot to me. Let's just walk very cautiously around here. This, of course, is how you have to walk if you are tracking baby leopards with their mummy. Right, I think our best option, everyone, is going to be to go around. They look like they're heading towards the drainage line there. But I think the adult is there, from what I could tell. But that's definitely a baby leopard track. Can you see it there? It's this big. Almost the size of a female, but I think it's because I think the little one obviously slid. And I don't see them going across the road. Just check once behind the car. I don't see them coming this side. Do you, Wium? There were definitely some around there. But they could have been playing up and down here during the course of the night. This is very exciting. Mainly, of course, because we have our TV special this afternoon. And how wonderful would it be to show Karula and her cubs to everyone on TV. We will be broadcasting on the internet as normal today as well. Okay, brilliant stuff. We get hold of Brent and the trackers and see where they are and just tell them about this. I'm tempted to we're just going to back up. In fact, I think I'm going to go back up and then go that way round because that's sort of where the tracks are going. We did stop on Treehouse Dam Road and have a listen and didn't hear anything there. Just listening to Brent now on the Game Drive channel. Yeah, I'm on Treehouse Dam Road. I've got tracks of one cub about halfway along, going in a westerly direction in the block. Ah. Brent says he's got impala alarm calling somewhere there. Let's just be quiet and listen. Copy. Hold on, hear nothing. I can hear impala alarm calling many miles to the south of us. But otherwise not much. Okay, let's continue with our plan. So Brent is on foot in here with the trackers. So with any luck, if they are in there, they will turn up. Just keep an eye on the road here because VMP, of course, spotted those little... That was a brilliant spot, by the way. To have spotted that while trying to film something, I think is a remarkable achievement. Just Keep looking in all the trees for the draped carcass of the family's meal. I haven't seen those little babies for a little while now. I feel that's not very fair. Now Jamie is off on foot. I think she's looking for those lions, I'm not sure. So we'll see if she comes up with them. I don't see them crossing this road. We'll go and have a quick look where Brent said he thought he heard the impala alarm calling, and then we'll turn around and come back this way. It's great having trackers out, I must say, because it means we just do get to cover quite a lot more ground. This is where I last saw them. They had a kill around here. Remember that, Wium? Special times.
I only saw the end of it.
Oh, sorry about that. Wium says he only saw the end of the kill. There is the waterbuck, and while we listen to see if we can't hear a few more alarm calls, let's head back across to Jamie, and she'll give you an update.
While James listens for alarm calls, that's exactly what Dave and myself have been up to. We've just been sitting there listening for any sound from the animals, drawing attention to the lions. And the fact that we haven't heard any, I think in a way, speaks volumes, because I think that they've settled right in that drainage line. So I climbed onto the top of the termite mound and looked down into the drainage line, onto the river systems, and that whole area is several tributaries meeting into one, full of rocks and concrete blocks and about 1 million perfect hiding places for a lioness and her cubs. Now I'm going to try and figure out what's going on here. We're going to do a loop of the area to double check that the lionesses didn't come out, because remember we had those tracks coming in from the north of this block, and those lionesses came from the east. So it's possible that they're converging on a kill, and perhaps those two lionesses actually moved off to go and have a drink. Truth is, I'm not 100% certain about what is happening here. I didn't get a long enough look at those lionesses to know which ones they were, and if it is the one that we think is pregnant or not, or has had her cubs or not, with the suckle marks. It's one of the younger lionesses with the 2 dots at the bottom of her nose. Let's go and check there. And a very good morning to the entire Sawyer family, who wanted to know a little bit about how old the cubs would be when the female brings them out to the rest of the pride. The answer is roughly around 6 weeks. Between 4 to 6 weeks would be about right. Sorry guys, I have to keep listening to the Game Drive channel just to see if they've relocated those lionesses, but it doesn't sound like they have. So to the Sawyer family, 6 weeks is about the right time for that to occur, and keep your eyes peeled for tawny shapes in the bushes. You never know when they might pop out again. The reason that they do that is because, as you know, females often synchronize, not quite fully, but their estrous cycles are synchronized to the point that they're usually pregnant at the same time, and they often give birth within a month, maybe even a couple of weeks, but often within a month, maybe 2 months of each other. The reason behind that is, as a social cat, they allosuckle. They feed each other's cubs. So by having them all timed at the same time, you've got chance that even if something happens to one of the lionesses, the others will take care of her offspring. Now that being said, there's a huge difference. There's a vast difference between a 3-month-old lion cub and a newly born lion cub. And sometimes what happens with the 3-month-old lion cubs, if the young cubs are brought in too soon, they're not very resilient. They're tiny, floppy little creatures, barely with the coordination to walk around. And what will happen then is that the older cubs who don't know their own strength and don't know how rough to play actually accidentally end up killing them. And that's one of the big reasons why the females keep their cubs secreted away in drainage lines like this until they are old enough to keep up with the pride and to keep up with the boisterous games of the other cubs. And of course it means that the lioness can leave her cubs somewhere safely and go off and find some food for herself, maybe share a kill with the rest of the pride before she continues onwards. There's one other option, and that's the lionesses who are walking straight towards Galago Pan. And with those bloody faces and that determined walk, that is a distinctive possibility. There's a track that they always come out on, and I think we will definitely see tracks there if that's the route they've come. I'm actually speeding up a little bit. The only reason I'm surprised that if they are heading in that way is just because we didn't hear any alarm calls, but we've just got to go around this bend and we should know for certain if they're coming that way. Good morning to Shamsun. Welcome as always to the Sunrise Safari. My apologies, Dave. Whack Dave with a bit of a tree there. You wanted to know how the lionesses are feeding the cubs if they're not bringing meat back to the den. And the answer is they don't need to. The lion cubs are not weaned until they're sort of similar to leopard cubs, around 3 or so months of age, at which point they're already keeping up with the pride, they're moving with the pride. What will happen is the lion cubs follow behind the females, and then there's some kind of signal that the lionesses give that says, hey, sit down, be quiet, we need to hunt now. And the cubs disappear into the long grass and they hide away. Sometimes, as they start to get older, it doesn't work so well, and the cubs actually mess up the hunt. But in the beginning, they go completely flat and silent and go, okay, Mom, yes, whatever you say, Mom, which is always a good approach when your mother's a lioness. And off the lionesses go and hunt. And then cubs, as you know with lions, they're not terribly obliging when it comes to sharing their kill, and the cubs actually just have to take the scraps and lump it until they're big enough and strong enough to fight for their own. This is the game path that I was talking about, and it tells me a few things as we look at this path that runs towards Galago Pan. It tells me, first of all, excuse me, that the lionesses did not come in this direction. It tells me, second of all, that the hyena den at Mvubu Road is still active. Even though we didn't find the female there, she is still there because there are tracks of hyena up and down and up and down. One last place, one favorite place of the lionesses, and exactly in the direction that they were heading, is just in this river system here. And this is where they would pop out. Now let us travel along here and go in search of them. Oh, we better go a bit slower. The number of times that we have found these lionesses in this Tamboti thicket is a large number. There we go. Where are you, lionesses? I have a question that I have not yet managed to answer or find the answer to. And that is, when a female cat picks a den site, I want to know how they do it. I want to know if they've got it planned out from the start, or if they automatically go back to one of their favorite places. I mean, obviously they have specific design requirements for a den site. It must be sheltered, it must be protected. but I just want to know whether or not they pick it out in advance, or if they just go when they feel themselves going into labor, if they just happen to pick their favorite spot within that vicinity. I have no idea what the answer to that is. Okay. Phew. Now you can see how cut out we have, or how we've got our work cut out for us. There's a river system that comes through here, and this is a confluence of another river system here. Our lionesses disappeared off somewhere there. It gets a little bit tricky. Oh, and they could be absolutely anywhere in this river system. Let's go check their tambuerti thicket, and then we must leave and go around to the old hyena den, because there is absolutely no need for apologies from Dina, who's worried that I may have already answered her question. Let's just go back a bit. I haven't answered that at all, but you would like to know whether or not a lioness would ever choose a hyena den or an old hyena den to have her cubs in. It's not impossible. I've never experienced it before, but it is not impossible in my opinion. I think that it's a good place. We know that leopards den in termite mounds. Typically my experience with lions denning, oh my goodness me, there's an elephant bull in must somewhere here. It's very smelly. You got it? Cool. Thank you, Dave. That's just a dead tree that's rolled into this 2-track that leads here. It's not outside of the realms of possibility, I believe. I don't see why a lioness wouldn't choose a hyena den, except perhaps that she might find the scent a tad repellent, and she might also not want to risk the adult hyenas coming through when she is away from the cubs and actually killing her cubs. You know, the smaller hyena cubs would be more than capable of both entering into the den and doing serious damage to and killing a lioness's cubs. Okay, this is their spot. This is their favorite spot. We've walked them so many times here by mistake, a lot of the time. But even in winter and in this drought, this river system makes life a bit more tricky. Just listening to alarm calls, but it's completely silent. So close, and yet so far. That's not an alarm call. That's somebody hammering a nail. So on the subject of lionesses choosing their den site, Jen B has said that she would suspect that the lioness would not be that dissimilar from a house cat, and a house cat starts the sort of the nesting process a couple of days earlier, or quite a few days earlier. I agree with you, actually. I think that's entirely possible. And we saw Karula just before she gave birth, but maybe she had that place in mind the whole time. I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that question. It's just because it would help. Knowing the answer to that question would help us in our search, or at least not necessarily search, but knowledge of exactly where that den site is, so that we don't go walking into it by mistake. I mean, Steph is a wonderfully brave, courageous, and extraordinary individual, but it would be nice, I'm sure, and he would agree, to know when he goes wandering on his bushwalks exactly where these lionesses have decided to drop their cubs. And also what it means is that we can look after them carefully. So following a leopard, for example, if we know it's going to the den site, then we stop following the leopard and we leave nature to take its course. Now, while we head around to Gonna go shortcuts just to see whether maybe they carried on their journey to the west. Let's head back and see how James's search for a spotted cat's cubs is going. Wrong English.
Well, as with most of this kind of tracking of leopards and the various other animals, it can be a bit frustrating. Brent and the trackers are pretty convinced that they are in the block to the right-hand side of us. That is because that's where we had the tracks, and they've gone in there to have a look. They've circled some of the tracks there, and they've been playing up and down inside this block. So they're somewhere around here, we think. Now, because we are in the vehicle and they're on foot, we're going to do a little bit further down here and see if we can't pick them up. But we'll see what else we can find along the way. We haven't seen anything else. We've done quite a large sort of looping area. Wium spotted the tracks again. Lucy in South Bend, Indiana, you play a very kind compliment to Wium, of course. Wium is very humble, so I will give him that compliment. And you say that you reckon he could spot an ant track while still filming. Well, I don't dispute that for a second. I think he probably could. He really is very good at spotting the tracks. He spends most of his leaves in our national parks, don't you, Wium? So he does spot animals really well. Wish he'd spot us some flipping leopards, though. Tammy in New York, you say, what kind of animals do we see that you don't usually see? You mean here, or do you mean animals that you might see in the US? Out here, I think you see pretty much everything that we see, except for maybe a few of the animals of the night when we might come out on a night drive every so often, like an aardvark. But I don't know how often we've seen that, probably as often as we've seen them live. And maybe something like those little rodents, the bushveld gerbils and that sort of stuff, which you do tend to notice a bit more when you're walking around on foot alone. But otherwise, I think our Safari Live viewers see pretty much everything that we see, especially, now that we have the regular bushwalk. Because the regular bushwalk really does, especially if Steph's doing it, it really does uncover all the little wonders of the wild that you wouldn't normally see on a game drive. So, Tammy, I think we see pretty much what you see. Go ahead. So he thinks they maybe have come this way. Copy, we're on Weaver's Nest. We are on Weaver's Nest, I just need to know where. Wium did spot tracks going east across the road, but there seem to be tracker footprints on them. Did you see You did see, yeah. Okay, copy that. So Brent says they're just tracks of them going in every direction at the moment. Oh dear. Tracks on the... Tracks here going across the road to the south. So we don't know whether she's going, if she might not even be on this reserve. This is the vehicle that the trackers came on. You can see that they are on foot. You can see there Brent Leo Smith's mound of equipment. Maybe I should take his lens and put it on my camera. No. Oh, look at this beautiful view of the misty dawn, everyone. Let's just stop here and have another listen. It's always a good idea to have a bit of a listen. Very nice. sounds of lions all over the place. Brent, of course, on foot saying that he can hear male lions calling just to the south here. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe we'll be lucky. I copied about it, I didn't copy them. I'll check the road there, thanks. So he said male lions calling just over here, but probably south of the boundary. So I want to just go and check along here and see if Kurulski baby doesn't pop out. I suppose calling the Queen of Juma Kurulski baby Wium is probably a little disingenuous. You know, I might be in trouble if she heard me, and some of her more ardent fans might also feel it was a little bit too familiar, as opposed to Your Highness. Or Your Majesty, yes. Kirsten says Your Majesty is more appropriate than Kurulski baby.
Shadow baby.
It's called Shadow Baby. Well, she's kind of a princess, really.
Yeah, but she's first in line.
She's first in line to the throne, exactly. Well, we don't know who was born first, her or Tundi, of course. Anyway, let's just ease our way along here. While we are looking for the leopard, we're more than happy to stop at anything else we might see, bird-wise, reptile-wise, rodent-wise, Siberia. But unfortunately, it's a very sort of misty, chilly morning, and everything seems to be rather hiding. So we're just going to bumble our way along here and see if we don't spot something else interesting. Hello, Nancy G. You say if I always wanted to be a safari guide while we're driving along, hoping for some form of animal entertainment. No, Nancy G, I haven't. And people are often very surprised by that question. I wanted to be a guitar player, is what I wanted to be. And, you know, when I finished school, my father said to me, you will get a degree, I don't care what it is, you will get one though, and it won't be at home. So I nearly did music, but I'd done it and I just figured, you know, you don't really need to perhaps do it formally. So I went and I did a general science degree, and then I thought I'd become a musician after that. And I had a rather terrifying girlfriend at the time I finished university, and she said, well, we are going to the bush to be guides. I had no idea what a safari guide did. We used to call them rangers in those days. I thought maybe they counted grasses or animals or something like that. But I thought what they'd do is interview us both, get rid of me because they would see that I was utterly clueless and had no idea, and keep her and rid me of two problems at once, and I would go off and become a guitar player. Within 2 weeks of the training course beginning, they'd got rid of her and kept me, and I'd found a whole new world of discovery, and that's basically how I became a safari guide. So no, I didn't always want to, but I did always want to live in a beautiful place. Since I was a young boy, I can remember being touched very deeply by seeing the beauty of being in the beauty of nature. And so for me, it's very much been about that, and that's why when I have time off, I'll go I'll go for a walk or something, and where Brent is fascinated by finding big animals and that sort of thing, for me it's very much an immersion in the feeling. So yeah, if I see an elephant or a leopard or something like that, I think Steph and I have a similar kind of idea. It's a bonus, it's wonderful, but just to be out here is just excellent. And that's basically how I've become a safari guide. The idea being to be able to do some kind of job where I can live in a beautiful place. And that's what I do. Wium, your history to becoming a cameraman?
I was born a cameraman.
You were brought up as a cameraman.
I was born a cameraman.
You were born with a camera in your hand. That's very interesting. But you're just obsessed with being a cameraman. And Wium's worked as a cameraman for TV and for sports, yeah, and obviously now for wildlife. News. The newscasting can't have been quite as entertaining as this. South Africa Got Talent, he did that too.
As a camera operator.
As a camera operator, yes. Not as a singer or pole dancer. That image is horrendous. Right, we're still looking for the leopards, I promise everybody. We're not just talking random nonsense for no reason. Some big elephant twacks. Oh, no one's driven down here today, so we're now on fresh ground. This rather chilly cold front blowing through, it's not warming up, and I wonder if this isn't going to be with us for the afternoon for our big cat, or not our big cat, our Father's Day special. Oh, Father's Weekend special. So we're doing two specials for those of you who are watching, and I think they're only broadcast on Nat Geo Wild in the US, but we're going to be on the internet, so you're not going to lose out on the afternoon drive. And come along. I mean, if you're watching on the internet and you're in another part of the world, I think you'll find that they're quite entertaining because they do move quite quickly. And we've got the 4 feeds out with the, with the 2 vehicles, the walk and the tent, which is good fun. We had the rover up yesterday afternoon. That was amazing. And we've also got control of the Djuma Dam cam, so we use that as one of the feeds as well. So it's really quite an entertaining show. So come along and watch. Well, that was Taxton driving up there. He's obviously not found any further tracks here. Anyway, let's go back to Jamie, get an update from her. We'll keep scouring this area.
We've been doing some scouring ourselves. We've just been to check the old hyena den that is just off Gallagher shortcut, and the answer is the lionesses are definitely not denning there. And again, I think now that I've thought about that properly, I really doubt that they would risk their cubs by choosing what would be considered to be a rather not sensible place. The elephants have provided us with a beautiful new archway to the road. Isn't that lovely? Now, unfortunately, they got their specs a little bit wrong because our vehicle is a bit too tall to go under that, so we shall go around. And once again, Dave, the branch ninja, will have to try and protect the camera lens. At least everybody watch heads. Got it. Well done, Dave. Dave's a legend. Oh, no, we can't go back onto the road just yet. There's another tree. Phew. Okay. Right. So if they haven't settled down in the drainage line, they haven't gone south and they haven't gone west. And on our way to check north. Now, while we go off in search of our lions, we have some of their favorite food for you. Here we go. Hello, piggies. Let's just let them move out into the open slightly. Wow, the little piglets have grown tremendously since we first started watching them. I mean, I don't know specifically which warthog family this is, but as you know, warthogs generally have their babies around the start of the rainy season, November, December time. They're all around a similar age, and you can just see them off in the distance there, snuffling away, and accompanied by a very large male that is off to the right, but a bit more tricky to see. And what I've noticed, there he is, he's staring at us. He's found himself a bush to hide behind. It's very effective. And what I've noticed is the male warthog in this area are more skittish than the females. I know he's a male because the warts that give the warthog their name, with their sort of extensions out on either side, are much larger in the males. Well, off he goes. Had it. Goodbye. Sticking around. And there's just this little face peeking out at us from behind the trees. You can really see, especially in the piglets, you can see the sort of the common pig ancestry that the warthogs share. And those little, what would we call them? I suppose sideburns that the piglets have, meant to imitate having exceptionally large tusks, make them look a bit more intimidating and scary. It doesn't really work all that well, to be completely honest, particularly with the dominant male leopard in this area, who seems to enjoy a good warthog snack every now and again. There's not a single alarm call. I don't know whether that means the lionesses are just being really sneaky, or if it means that they're lying in that drainage line. I think it is the latter. But we're going to double, triple, quadruple check this morning. Here's Mom with her tusks showing through. Might be a piglet. Those tusks are actually quite small, sorry. Now that I look a little bit closer, they are quite far away. It's not a fully grown warthog, I don't think. But much larger than the other two little ones. I'm very sorry. That took me by surprise. Thank you very much, Dave. It's all the leaves that have gone up my nose since we started this morning's sunrise safari. Definitely been unexpected, but it always is. Snuffling around, looking for grass roots and shoots. They're going to be slightly more resilient than the bulk grazers. But even so, the warthog will be finding it hard to meet their nutritional requirements, particularly the females, since they've just come through their rutting season, so their breeding season, which means that a lot of the females are going to be pregnant and having to meet the requirements of themselves and the babies that are growing inside them. Which means that warthogs during the day, once they've come out of their burrows and have started foraging, will forage pretty much all day in winter. In summer, they take some time off, go and lie down in a nice mud wallow, enjoy the heat of the day there. But in winter, that is a luxury that they cannot really afford. It's also not terribly, or it's not too hot. It can get very warm, but it's not too hot. And at the same time, there's not all that many mud wallows, and most of them are at this point occupied by larger animals of a slightly more ferocious stature. Okay, since our warthogs have largely disappeared, I do want to just carry on. You can hear more roadworks going on, and by that I mean elephants pushing trees into road. You can hear cracking off in the branches. Here's our male once again, giving us the hairy eyeball, so to speak. He's obviously feeling a bit more comfortable now. Realize that we're not going to rush out and attack him. Oh boy. A very impressive set of warts that he has there, less so of the tusk variety. Relatively small tusks for a male warthog, but they, as with elephants and hippo, will grow continuously throughout their lives. But he's done with the attention being lavished upon him, and off he goes. Those piglets are almost impossible to see now at this point. We're just being very closely watched. Okay, let's move on. I just want to make sure that these lionesses are not going to cross north. They haven't come this way. Let's just double check. Double, triple check. Now, before I spotted the warthog, I had a question through from one of our viewers about which lion is our favorite. And that is a really difficult question to answer. You shouldn't really have favorites, should you? But of course, because we spend so much time with the animals, I think that ultimately you'll find that we all have favorites. if I had to try and give you, can I narrow it down to two? Definitely the lions that I enjoy seeing, well, probably because I've spent the most time with them, is in Kuhuma Pride. I really enjoy the sub-adult, who is now an adult lioness. I think just because I was here for the takeover from the Birmingham Boy Male Coalition, I saw her. The last sighting I had of her before that takeover, she was playing with her sister, who was subsequently killed by one of the Birmingham Boys, we think. She died somehow. And to just watch that, and I think because of Amber Eyes' amber eyes, and they're very distinctive. Sorry, guys. While I listen to the Game Drive channel and think about my favorite lionesses, let's head back to James, who has something much larger.
Look, everybody, a silver cluster leaf tree, and just behind that, a buffalo. There we go. He's been standing there statuesque for the last 5 minutes or so, thinking about what to do with his life. I imagine he'll go wandering off towards some water at some stage today. And there's his friend. And we're just sitting on the very southern boundary now of Djuma, trying to see if we can't hear anything. The lions are calling to the south of us. Brent and the trackers are still just to the north of us, and they are convinced that Karula and the youngsters are still around here. But she may well have crossed south out of the reserve. Anyway, we're not going to spend too much longer around here. The trackers, if she is here, they'll find her. We'll probably pop across to Arathusa and see if there isn't any update there. Brent is just over there. We've just seen him now, bedecked in his multi-coloured kukoi around his neck. May have been what frightened the leopards off, actually. Now, Kathy, in Tennessee, you've noticed that there doesn't seem to be a lot of grass around. So I'll just quickly stop here. If you have a look over there, you can see that there isn't much grass. And yes, it is normal to a certain extent, not as much as it is now. So the drought has definitely made a huge difference to how much grass there is. So normally this time of year there would be more. It would be dry, though, because we're now well into the dry season, of course. But the other thing to remember is that this particular area is a fire break, which means that the trees have been cleared, and so the grass will be more pressured, and so it's always going to look slightly shorter and denuded than the other areas. Just looking behind us, wondering if I'm going to see a leopardess pop out of the bush. Alas, no. Righty, on we go. It's not getting very much warmer, I must confess. So tracks of the trackers going up and down the road from this morning. I don't know. A leopard, if it doesn't want to be found, is really very good at not being found. We're just going to keep an ear out on the Game Drive channel all the time, just in case those guys get lucky. There's a bird up ahead, Wium. You see that?
Bird on a wire.
Bird on a wire. Hippopotamus tracks all over. Unlikely to see a hippopotamus knocking about here. There is the bird that we're looking at. I know it's not ideal to look at a bird on a wire in a game reserve, but you know, the beggars can't be choosers at the moment. And Tony, old boy fish, you're wondering what kind of birds have migrated into the area for the winter. The answer is 0, Tony. There are a few waders that sort of come onto the coastal areas for the winter time. but very, very, in fact, I don't know of any inland bird that would willfully come down here for the winter rather than be somewhere summery. Not that it's unpleasant in the winter, but for a bird that wants to eat insects or seeds, it's really not a good place to be right now. So there are no birds that come through here only for the winter, but there are a few waders, like I say, around the coastal regions, particularly on the Atlantic coast, that come through here for the winter time. That's a lilac-breasted roller, everybody, by the way. So we're now on the southern boundary. To the north is Djuma, to the south is Little Gowrie. And on Little Gowrie is where Karula has spent a huge amount of time with those cubs. Also, it's the central parts of Tandi's territory. Tandi, her also 9-year-old daughter, sister to Shadow. So we're going to head further now to the west. We'll keep an ear out on the radio, and we'll see if there's something going on Arathusa. Arathusa is to the west of us, obviously. I'm still marveling at the fact that that Wium managed to spot that track. Now this is where Brent had the sound of the lions, but apparently they were then called in to the south of us here. Maybe they'll come up here. Anyway. And Tammy, you're in New York and still wondering about elephants sleeping. I have seen them sleeping during a game drive, Tammy. Yes, absolutely. Keep going wrong here, and I haven't seen a big bull sleep, but I have a wonderful story of a chap I used to work with who found a bull fast asleep one day, lying down. He was on his side, and the guy, he'd never seen it before. He'd been in the bush for 20 years. In fact, he'd grown up in the bush, and he thought it was dead, so he got out of his car and sort of walked over to it, and it looked like it may have still been breathing, so he looked a bit. And then I think he snapped a twig or something like that, and the elephant apparently shot up with the most unbelievable speed. And he had to run for his life, jump in his car and drive off. I don't know if the elephant would have attacked him or not, but it certainly got a very big fright when he snapped his twig. So they do sleep. You often see the youngsters sleeping on game drive, and we've certainly seen them live on game drive, little ones lying down in amongst the herds. Oh, Jamie's got something interesting.
Guys, we've just found the lions again, exactly to the north of where we lost them, but they're moving south again. This is bizarre. I don't know what's going on. They're looking for probably the rest of their pride, actually. Perhaps they went to check on the cubs and are now heading back towards the kill that they have. Let's just have a look and see if we can't get a closer view. They're going to come here now. Have they got... There we go. Very, very round bellies. These ladies have been eating something. And as the second lioness comes through, she does look as though she's got a dark face. And I think there is a kill through here. All right, this is going to be difficult again. They're leading us on a merry dance this morning. Thanks very much, guys. They were picked up on by one of the landowners who was moving through the area and had come to help us look for them. And very successfully. Oh, there they go. Okay, let's do this. Okay, here we go again, Dave. Ready?
Let's go.
Up we go. Here we go into nightmare area, but I'm just wondering if they don't have a kill. Although if they go back into that drainage line system, I might burst into tears. I won't, obviously, but I'm really hoping they don't do that. Everybody watch heads. That's just a dry branch. And I'm going to try and follow directly behind them because I'm hoping they're going to choose a nice elephant path or something similar. There's a nice view of the one lioness. What's up, girls? What's happening? Straight back into the block where they came from. Okay, there they go. You can see those bellies swaying from side to side, sort of like they've just enjoyed a very large Christmas dinner or a Sunday roast of some description. I know that the Nkumas were on a baby buffalo kill 2 days ago on Torchwood. I doubt those bellies would be looking so full if that was still just from that. Okay, everybody, watch your heads. We're going to try and stay with them. They're separating. Why? Why are they separating? One lioness is going off that way, the other off to my left. Oh, I think they're going to play a little bit. Are they? They're not, they are most definitely not hunting. They're on the search, on the lookout for something. Stay with the one on the left. She's picked the easier path. I hope. I think. Oh goodness, that's an instant flat tire. Uh-oh. Okay, we're gonna keep going. We haven't got a flat tire just yet, but I just drove over a tree known as a zebra wood, the one that was responsible for the grievous injury to James's poor leg. Okay, figure this out. I've still got a view of the lionesses. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time and you're seeing us driving over trees, I just want to assure you that we pick the young saplings that spring back up after we go over them. And also, we take the species, we drive over the species that are essentially what are known as bush encroachment species. So they're here. There's lots of them. I'm going to get hit in the face. It'll be calmer. There we go. Here we go again, Dave. You ready?
Yep.
Everybody watch heads. Here we go again. Dave the branch ninja. Oi. Thank you. Reflexes. I've learned my lesson after the time I got smacked in the eye. That was just bad luck, though. That was with Dave as well. Well, at least you're bringing better luck this time around, Dave. This is so exciting, guys. I'm thinking they've got a kill in here. And I think we've just got to keep following until we find it. Okay, onwards. Tires are all good. The zebra wood will take some time to act if I have got a flat tire. We'll probably get right into the sighting and then have to change it. I'm not convinced we've got a flat tire, though. We've got relatively resilient tires. Now, hopefully they survived my incursion over the... Oh, the zebra wood. Oh, ladies. Ladies, ladies. Goodness. Ready, Dave? Now, as we pass close to this lioness, you can see she's barely given us a sideways glance. And Janice, you were wondering if the animals are used to the sound of vehicles, and if an animal had never seen a vehicle before, would they be nervous? And the answer is absolutely they would. I would never do this with lions that have not seen vehicles before. It's one of the things that makes the Sabi Sands such a wonderful setting for game viewing. Sorry guys, we have to move, otherwise we're going to lose them, because I don't think I can get round here. Ish! Sorry, that's very South African. Oh no! We're in a trap. I can't go left, I can't go right, I can't go anywhere, I have to go back. Janice, the lions would run if they'd never seen a vehicle before. If they were completely unused or not used to seeing the presence of people, they would be terrified, and we would never do this. Fortunately for us, these animals have grown up with the presence of vehicles from the day they were born. Ready for this, Dave? Got it, well done. You're a pro. I'm stuck. Obviously, before television, I can't risk damaging poor old Wendell, especially since Wendy just came back from the repair shop. Wendy is the vehicle, for those of you unfamiliar. So while we drive around and try to catch up with these lionesses, over to James, who's got a feathered friend for you.
That's not a feathered friend in the slightest. That, of course, is a furry friend, but the feathered friend flew away, as feathered friends are wont to do. Anyway, male Nyala, we've come to Arethusa. Absolutely no updates on Arethusa for the morning, but it is quite possible that Shadow and her little baby are lurking around here somewhere, so we are going to attempt to find her. Now, when I stopped here, the drongo was sitting in a bush over there with the Nyala underneath it, so I whipped my camera out, but being the world's slowest photographer, I managed to get nothing. Here we go. Let's continue. So we're not going to spend too much time here. We're going to do sort of a loop around past the airstrip, through past the dam there, and then back this way, and see if something doesn't pop out there. Just see if we can't find some tracks of maybe Shadow and her little ones. I don't know where they were, little one. I don't know where they were last seen. We've had tracks going in and out. Oh, Brent's calling. Go ahead. Brent's just saying that they did have the tracks, but they think that maybe the leopards are running from them. They've been in the area too long, so they're going to leave and come back a bit later. No, negative, sorry, Brent. Right. Let's see what else we can find here. I've now got 7 radios in my ear, just about, feels like. Turn that one down. Brent, no other tracks called in. Lucy, I haven't gone back to see the egg that we found yesterday. Yesterday we found a Franklin egg, everyone, and it was just lying in the open. It wasn't in a nest. Now, Franklins aren't very sort of adept nest builders. Works for their purposes, but they don't look like very protected nests. But this thing was just out in the open. So I think it had either been excluded or pushed out, or I don't know what it was. But the egg we didn't go back to look for today. We did drive along that road. I actually forgot about it completely. Anyway, that is the state of play at the moment. I was really, I can't tell you how often it happens that we have blindingly fresh tracks, as Steph defines them very nicely. He says they're shining, they're so fresh, and nothing comes of them. And it happens so often that we come out, huge prospects, lions roaring all night, hyenas cackling, leopards sawing, tracks all over the place. one nyala and 2 bushbuck later, we closed down in frustration. But perhaps today will be different. There are also reports of some elephants around here. I'll take an elephant right now, wouldn't you, Wium?
Yeah.
You'd probably take a steenbok right now. Yes. Or a bushveld gerbil.
Yes, I'm looking for one.
We've been searching desperately for a bush-tailed gerbil or a fork-tailed drongo, yes. Which we had earlier, of course, but it flew away. Grief. The only wildlife we've seen was, I think, that lilac-breasted whirler sitting on a telephone pole. Ooh. Oh. They really irritate me. We so seldom get them sitting still. It was sitting perfectly still until I stopped the car. Black-headed oriole, very frustrating. On we go. See what else we can find in this bush. No. Jason, a question from you. Thank you for it. It's always wonderful to hear from people on drives like this when the animals are not exactly cooperating. Jason, you say, do animals have a food of last resort in dry conditions? No, they don't. They eat whatever they can, and then sometimes what happens is, say, they will start, animals that are unable to eat certain plants will try and, oh, sorry, let me get back to that, Jason. Jamie's got lioness.
Guys, we've stumbled upon the most incredible scene. Listen to this. The hyenas have stolen the lioness's kill. Okay, come. Let's go. This is incredible. That's how we found them. Oh! We followed the sound of the hyenas screeching. The lioness has just run off to the right. And the hyenas are screaming for backup. Watch out, Dave. And they've picked the worst possible place. You good?
Yep.
Oh! Well done, Wendy. Dave, I'm going to have to put you in that. Here we go. Oh. And just like that, the 2 lionesses are kicked off. And she's angry. And she's stopped. The lioness has stopped. She's watching the goings on. She's been deserted by the other lioness. And now we have a standoff. The lionesses, 2 of them on their own, are not strong enough to defeat the full might of the hyena clan. But the hyena clan are currently busy trying to fend off all of the vultures that are landing in the trees. I'm not going to follow this lioness back through this monkey orange thicket again. I can't risk the damage to the vehicle. And I've also just taken out my right hand. But I'm so glad we got there when we did. That was phenomenal. She's calling now. The lioness is calling for her sister. They obviously had a small kill. And the hyenas have what we colloquially term chonchad, stolen the kill. And they're now snacking on some buffalo dung. You can see the vultures fluttering in at the back. Wow. That was not what I was expecting. Wow. The lioness is still calling behind us. I want to follow her, but I just can't risk taking the vehicle through this section again. But she might go and call for reinforcements, and then we might have a different situation on our hands. Now, faced with the full might of the Nkuhuma pride, these hyenas may well not have been successful. But with just 2 lionesses... Guys, I need to get onto the Game Drive channel. I need to get somebody to try and find these lionesses. She's calling not far away. Okay, sorry guys, somebody's having a conversation. I'm so torn. Okay, let's go see what these hyenas are feasting on. Whew. And it's moments... Somebody getting a beating for trying to get in there too fast and not playing good rank. It's a something. What is it? It is a buffalo. And you can see the vultures have all gathered. And those lionesses made a mistake in leaving that carcass behind. Oh, and the hyenas have made short work of it. They're now going off to search and make sure that those lionesses have gone, just because they can. There's a hyena right next to us. Hello, Mischief. You just chase the hyenas away. I mean, the lions away. The stations, the Mafazis had a bumper in the middle of this block. The Misia have jointed it, and the Mafazis now running to the northeast. I'm in a very thick block. I can't follow up. I don't know if anyone wants to check around Buffelshoek Cutline, Gowrie Cutline, that area. Whew. That was hectic. And the vultures just playing a patience game. This has absolutely been the most incredible sighting, and there's a hyena almost under my bonnet. Now, if there had been a male with those lionesses, or if the whole pride had been present, Chelsea, welcome to the dramatic sunrise safari that we have happening here, playing out in front of us. Yes, absolutely, if there were more lions, they would have been able to hold off the hyena. But 2 lionesses on their own, particularly pregnant lionesses, are just not quite capable of that level, of putting up that level of defense when faced with what's probably around, a couple of them have dispersed, but it was probably around 10 hyenas when I first arrived. Most of them are the sub-adults that we've been watching over the last few months. I'm struggling to recognize each and every individual because it's so difficult to see. Let's now reposition, now that we no longer have a hyena under our front wheels. Those lionesses, I can still hear them calling. I don't know if they're going to go far. I'm struggling to get hold of anyone on the Game Drive channel to come and help us out. How's your view there, Dave? Have you got...
Great.
Perfect. I can't really go any further without hitting myself on the head with a knobthorn. It wasn't even a small kill either. Shame those poor lionesses. They probably moved off to feed the cubs, and they left what was an entire fully grown female buffalo, coming back to find that it had pretty much been consumed. Now, when we first arrived, what first alerted me was the whooping contact calls of the hyenas calling for reinforcements to make sure that they had the numbers to fend off the lionesses. And we could also hear the growling and the anger from those lionesses. Sorry. You know, for very intelligent animals, the flight of a vulture should not really have provoked that. I mean, they just chased off two lionesses. A flying vulture isn't really that much of a threat. Especially a hooded vulture. There is a sound you seldom hear, and the hyenas are making it now, to call the rest of the clan back. Could you hear that vibration there, Dave?
Yes, yes.
You did hear it. They're not doing it now, but they make a tuku-tuku-tuku-tuku-tuku sound that you hardly ever get to hear. I found my scrap. I'm happy with my scrap. I'm not trying to get my way in there with those big females. Sorry guys, let me try the game drive comms one more time. Stations, did anybody copy my message about the Misi and the Ngala? Tax. I think we're flying blind here. I don't think my game drive comms are working. Oh dear. Oh well. Well, in that case, this is our sighting. But if we could possibly get hold of Brent, who is out on tracking team, if he could go in search of those lioness, or at least try and get hold of me on the game drive channel, it might be helpful, because I don't want to lose those lionesses completely. I just can't risk bashing back through that block once again. It was not easy the first time around, was it, Dave?
Not at all.
What an incredible sight this is. A couple of the hyenas waiting their turn, and then the hooded vulture that has descended to make use of whatever scraps it can find. It's about to be chased away. Oh, or not. Maybe not. There they go, the hyena plucking up the scraps, and then the hooded vulture picking up every little bit that it can. The crunching is incredible. Oh, there they are. That's where the lionesses are. Copy that. Thank you. Is it one or two there? Copy tax. I followed them into this block between Mvubu and Gari Katla, and they had a Makulu and Yaribamba, but the Misi have just scared them off. That's affirmative. We're at the bumper now. Oop. Don't ever step out of line when it comes to feeding on a buffalo carcass, because that hierarchy is dramatically enforced with teeth and shouting and screaming. Here comes one of the larger vulture species that has been on the outskirts, a white-backed vulture, giving a really nice demo of the difference in size between the hooded and the white-backed. Sorry guys, just bear in mind with me, I need to be on the game drive comms for 1 second. Tax, no, there's no Mongala. We arrived just as they ran off. Sorry guys, just need to keep Tax updated because I need him to keep track of those females so that we know where they are. That's affirmative, but yo, it's a Makulu block, this one. That's very thick. Yeah, Tax, unless you feel like trying to get through this monkey orange. I don't even know where I am if I have to direct Taxon into this sighting. I haven't the faintest clue. We're somewhere in a block. While these hyenas munch away at what's left of this carcass, we have a question from Garth. Good morning and welcome to a very unexpected sunrise safari. You were wondering whether or not this buffalo carcass is going to last the hyena all day. My guess is that no, it won't. I think it will be gone by this evening. The higher ranking females, so Madam, Corky, Pretty, the individuals that we've been watching over the last, that we've been watching over the last few months, might take some scraps back to the den site for the cubs. Hyenas giving us such a cool demonstration of the power of their teeth here. Just listen to this. See how they're not relaxed at all? That's because they know that they run the risk of the lions coming back with reinforcements at any moment. So although is that our new mum standing right in front of us? It's the one looking off into the distance. I think that might be the new mother at the hyena den. I needed to turn her head ever so slightly, but that looks like the right cut on her ear. I'm surprised she's got in to feed so early. I've always thought of her as lower ranking, but that looks like her. She has got a nip on her face. What a dramatic sighting. I think she might even be thinking about now going back to her cubs, but they really are making so certain that they're not about to be ambushed by a lion. Because if a male lion came in now, there is a very good chance if he could manage to sneak up on those hyenas, he might even go out of his way to kill them. The male lions do not tolerate thievery, and they've got a good 200 pounds on the females. So those Nkrumah lionesses didn't want to risk injury at the teeth and the jaws of the hyena. So they've run off. But if a male lion comes in now, the situation is going to turn completely on its head. While we wait and see how the situation is going to play out, let's go over to James, who's got an antelope for you.
Well, everybody, there is an antelope there. It's a large antelope. It's one of the largest antelopes that we get in the area, and it is called a Wium.
Waterbuck?
A waterbuck, correct. Well done. Excellent. Or kringgat. So that is the beautiful Afrikaans name for the waterbuck. Kringgat. meaning
Not really, that's a slang word for it.
meaning ringed bottom. A khat being a rather, well, unsavoury term for a bottom. Anyway, there he is, and there was a fork-tailed drongo sitting above him, and I wanted to get you a two-shot of the two of them together to show you that I could find two species in one place. But alas, the drongo flew away, so you'll just have to take my word for it. He's got a little harem of ladies around here. One of them not too far away. One of them stopped perfectly, or we stopped with her framed perfectly, and then she ran away. And I felt very tempted to say a bad word to her for having left us. But the male is watching us, and he's quite pretty. Just have a look at the different colours of the vegetation around him now. We're getting into the business end of winter now, and I know in most parts of the world, certainly in the northern hemisphere, what would happen is that all the trees would have lost their leaves already, and that isn't the case here. But they lose their leaves towards sort of the end of winter. And you can see the lovely colours, and they're very subtle, yellows and browns and greens, and how beautifully the animals are camouflaged in the winter, probably more so than they are in the summer, because in the summer, of course, they can hide behind the bushes. Might have to take a picture of him, of all the pretty colours. The world's fastest landscape photographer. You can see he looks like he's about to fall asleep. The wind seems to have dropped off a little. And that means that, basically it just means that the sort of standard issue daily warmth is starting to close in, which is very pleasant. Now, an incredible sighting you've been having with Jamie and those hyenas. I don't want to keep you away from them. We're going to keep exploring Arathusa. Let's go back to the hyenas and the buffalo. Dead.
I'll tell you something. This is the most spectacular sighting. It's also, the hyenas have burst back onto the scene after weeks of absence. They have exploded back onto the scene in true hyena style. Arriving and crunching away at a lioness's kill, chasing away the various vultures that are coming through, and now actually digging through the stomach contents, because it's a hyena, not quite so fussy as the lions that they've just chased away. I'm going to try and do one more reposition. It's a little bit tricky because there's a large tree in my way, but it would be nice to just get in just a little bit further to be able to watch the antics of the vultures. Before I do, there are other hyenas skirting about at the back. Some of the younger ones managed to make off with the tail of the buffalo and are wandering about there, waiting for their opportunity to approach the main part of the carcass. That little one at the back has actually got part of the tail. Okay, let's try this. I'm not quite sure, 100% sure how this is going to work. Here we go. It's alright, guys, it's just me. We're very familiar with each other. Okay, there we go. That's about, I think, as good as it's going to get, because we're going to get some dramatic scenes as the vultures start to get bolder and bolder. It's not impossible, if a large enough grouping of vultures does arrive, it's not impossible that they could actually outnumber and attempt to chase away the hyenas. I doubt they will, with this many of them about. And I've seen vultures chase cheetah off a kill before, or at least I've seen videos of such events taking place. I haven't seen it before myself, but it does happen. Sorry guys, I think someone's trying to call me on the Game Drive channel. Station calling Jamie, go ahead. Tax, I'm in that block between Mvubu and Gari Cutline. I think quite close to Buffelshoek Cutline, but to be completely honest, I don't know where I am in the block. I'm in the monkey orange thicket. A firm, we struggled. Sorry, Tex. Yeah, the Misi are just finishing it off. There's still quite a lot of the Bamba left, and the Makuti have all arrived as well. You'll see where my off-road tracks went from the fire break just to the east of the Mvubu Road junction, and I went south from there. It was very tricky to get in here. That's affirmative as far as I know. The last I heard, she was calling quite far to the north, towards Buffelshoek Cutline. Copy. Sorry guys, Taxon's actually giving me a really important update because he's letting me know what happened to those lioness after they ran away from this situation. And just to let you know, they're still separated. The one went for a drink at Tambuti Dam, which is just north of our boundary. The other is probably still in this block somewhere, wandering about and calling. Alice in Ohio, welcome to this incredible sunrise safari, slightly gory sunrise safari, I suppose. It is what it is. You're wondering about why the hyenas are not going for the vultures at the moment. They will. If the vultures get too bold, they will chase them away. They have a couple of times sort of half-heartedly. But at the moment, they know that the vultures are not going to go and target the, oh, there you go, the main part of the meal. So that wasn't really active chasing so much as just walking back towards the carcass. So at the moment, they're dominant in this situation. If a vulture were to get too close to the best part of the meal, rather than picking through the scraps, that actually even the hyenas don't really want to munch on, then they would chase them away. See how the hyenas keep looking off to the south. Don't know what that's about, but I think just fear. I think it's just fear of another lion coming back and attempting to steal back this carcass. Good morning to Joel, who is a new viewer. You're right there, Dave.
All good.
Dave's been breathing in as much plant debris as I have this morning. There you go. A little bit of vulture chasing. And I don't know about you, Dave, could you feel the breeze there?
Yes.
You could feel the breeze from the vulture's wings flapping. That's how powerful those birds are. They've also really kindly blown the smell and the dust straight into us. So we've sort of got buffalo-infused dust particles to add to our hay fever this morning. Joel, who is a new viewer, a warm welcome to the Sunrise Safari. Yes, this is live. Yes, we do not know what to expect, as you can see from this phenomenal sighting that we've been treated to this morning. Don't know what that was about. While I wait to work out why those hyena ran away, let's head back across to James with a rare antelope at Arathusa Dam.
Not sure how rare it is, but there's oh, listen. You see how it lifted its head? It's a bushbuck, everybody. It's a female bushbuck. And what she was listening to was the alarm call of some baboons off to the west of us. That's basically directly where she looked. And she's just feeding on the last bits of vegetation here in the Arathusa Dam. She's not alone, of course. Around her you can hear the sounds of the blacksmith plover or blacksmith lapwing. They're shouting at each other. And Wium, you said you saw a hammerkop as well, did you?
Yes.
Where it is?
There he is.
There he is. Hammerkop. Looking for frogs and things. That was a pile of mud. Oh, there it is. I can see it there. Well spotted. Try and pass off a pile of mud as a hammerkop to me. See, what he's doing there is he's not sort of scratching his foot. He's actually trying to disturb things that are in the mud. And ideally, a hammerkorp would like to eat frogs, but very few frogs now. Steph managed to find one on a walk yesterday, if you can believe it, a banded rubber frog. Wonderful stuff. And he's just eating things there, and I mean, I know it's almost impossible to see what he's eating because of the speed with which he flicks it up into his throat. So this is very fertile ground for water birds to come and eat at, because the water is shallow. There are lots of little nooks and crannies that they can go into. But you can see this dam is drying out at a rather spectacular rate, which means it's not going to provide much water for very long. There, a grey heron, doing much the same as a hammerkorp. They have a similar diet, except that the heron will take much larger fish. Probably fewer frogs. Very, very patient. There's the blacksmith lapwing behind there. In the background you might be able to hear the peaceful sound of a crested barbet. Oh, and an African jacana, well spotted, Wium. Or lily trotter. Not many lilies for it to trot on at the moment. Got these enormously long feet, toes, which allow it to move on lilies floating on the surface of the water. And I love the jacana because it's a polygynous bird, and what that means, of course, is that the female, unlike with all the mammals, is able to have more than one husband. And there's a reason, of course, that the mammals don't do that. Let's just move a little bit forward. And that reason, of course, is that with the mammals, the female has no choice but to, she can only be pregnant with so many babies at a time, and then so it doesn't serve for her to have further husbands. But for a bird, of course, once she's laid her eggs, there's no reason she shouldn't go and mate again and lay more and put them into looking after her babies, which I think is rather clever. Let's go back to the hyena. There was a hippo here. I'm going to spend a little bit more time trying to have a look for him. But let's go find out what the hyenas are doing.
The hyenas at the moment are looking incredibly nervous, and they're glancing off into the sort of southeasterly direction around us. I can hear cracking of branches, which makes me wonder whether we're not about to be interrupted, not by the lions, but potentially by a herd of elephants moving through the area. But it also might just be a little bit that they're just a bit nervous. They know that they've done a naughty thing. They've just stolen from the top predators in terms of the hierarchy, and it's only through the advantage of numbers that they were able to do that. And they know that if a male lion were to come responding to the lioness's calls, that they would be in some serious trouble. Could be interesting if an elephant decides to come through here. An angry Ellie. Oh well, we'll be in the best possible position. Oh, now they're going to start moving this carcass now that it is sort of broken up enough. They're going to start splitting apart parts of it and moving it away and sort of claiming their own parts as a snack piece. I think they're feeling very nervous, and I think that they'd rather be away from the scene of the crime, quite literally, and be caught hanging out here. So one of them has just carried off the pelvis whilst you were away. The other is very nervous. They've lost the advantage of numbers now. Everybody's split off, moved away, and found their own sort of separate pieces that they can munch on. And that female might even be taking a little bit back towards the den site. It's not impossible, but it won't be our new mother, whose cubs are far too young to be eating solid foods. I think it's just vultures, actually. Might be the cracking of the branches. but something has made them very nervous. And now we've got the lone soldier, and the vultures know it. They're starting to rally the troops. Better tuck in quickly, hyena. The vultures are circling. They're not even circling at this point. They're just marching straight towards you. Now, while we look at this somewhat macabre image, James Richard would like to know, when animals start to eat the buffalo, is there a reason that they start eating away at the nose first? Or at least when they start eating the buffalo's face, they always start at the nose. And the answer is yes. It's the easiest piece for them to pull away from the rest of the skin. The skin of the buffalo around the face itself is quite thin, so especially around the snout and around the cheekbones. The nose is one of the fleshiest parts. It's also one of the softest parts of the buffalo. Now, buffalo's skin is incredibly tough, and even lions and hyenas have to work to break through it and to open up the carcass itself. The lip is just the easiest place to start. And generally, it is the animal, be it a lion or a hyena, that has been designated sort of one of the lowest in terms of the feeding hierarchy, that will start feeding around the face. Oops. The female came straight in to let everybody know that she is dominant, and she's clearly larger than the other two. Pretty? Is that you? I think that is pretty. It is pretty. So one of our more dominant females of this clan. Yes, it's usually a sort of a more submissive animal that nibbles away at the sensitive nose. Speaking of animals with sensitive noses in a much less macabre way, let's head across to James and a little squirrel.
Now, everybody, we have found some squirrels in Siberia. You wanted to see some rodents? Well, there you are. There they are. I know that these were your least desired rodents today, but the only ones I can do, I'm afraid. And in this leadwood tree they are sitting, 3 of them, and just trying to catch a few rays. As the wind has dropped, the sun is starting to come out, and it's just starting to get a bit warmer. I think they're quite enjoying that. Beautiful, beautiful tree. It's a dead leadwood tree, and there's some impala knocking off down here. What have you got there, VMP? A monkey. I was about to say there's some baboons calling, and there are some baboons calling off to the west of where we are, and then there are monkeys as well. So everything rather peaceful here. Not a great deal in the way of predators, clearly. That's a lovely shot. Fantastic. Should we get a little bit closer? Let's try and get a little bit closer to those minkies. Now, I can't really hear the final control here, everybody, so if you do have a question, which is marvellous, or a comment, send it through. I'll try and hear it, but I might have to only address it when I get a little bit closer. We're quite near the far western edge of Arethusa. There's still a few of them up there. Here we go, coming down. These, of course, the vervet monkey, which is the only monkey species we find here. And one of only 2 monkey species we find in the whole of South Africa. And interestingly, I find they unquestionably recognize us as primates. And that means that they think that we're good tree climbers. So if you go near a tree full of monkeys, they will try and get out of that tree before you get to the base of it. They don't want to be trapped up inside it. Same with a leopard. A leopard will never sit up in a tree while you're underneath it. They'll always try and get away And I'm sure that's because we're recognized as primates, whereas these chaps will climb a tree to get away from a leopard. I mean, you can't imagine any leopard being a worse tree climber than us. But they've decided to come out of the tree because they perceive us as a threat. And while they feel they can outrun us, they don't feel necessarily that they can outclimb us, which I think is fascinating. Ooh, one of them's in trouble. This is brilliant. I tell you, if you can get a view of a troop of monkeys or baboons and you can keep them in view for a while, it is very special to watch them, because the social interactions so much mirror our own, with young males sorting out their hierarchies, and apparently quite a lot of manipulation that takes place, couching favour with each other through allo grooming and the giving of gifts. Very sophisticated. Interesting, I think much like the hyenas, they say that hyenas, of all mammals other than the primates, have by far the most complicated social structure, based hugely on a hierarchy that is maintained and enforced. Cool. Alrighty, Wium, shall we see if we can find the baboons quickly? It'd be very nice to have all the primate species in one drive. Right, now Jamie's still at the kill, and while the large sort of carnivorous scavengers have moved out, the avian ones are moving in.
Avian ones, absolutely. More and more vultures arriving every moment that we sit here. And, oh, sorry, Dave, can we, very quickly, sorry. Oh, the hyenas just lay down in the stomach contents to roll in it, just because they are rather unhygienic creatures like that. Oh, brief food scrap. Female coming in to sort them out. This is the most incredible interaction. I know why these hyenas are so nervous. There's an entire elephant walking straight towards us. I was going to say herd of buffalo. There's also an elephant. It's just worked out what's going on. And now things become relatively interesting. Thick vegetation, relatively windy day. She's sniffing, and she's going to come and chase them, I think. It's coming now. She'll come forward now. Here she comes. There we go. Well, this is an interesting turn of affairs. I was actually going to tell you that there's a whole herd of buffalo, but it also turns out to be a whole herd of elephant. Hello, guys. We're here, by the way. Don't be taken by surprise. It was the hyenas. It wasn't me. It was them. It was them and the lionesses. I didn't do anything. Promise. Promise it's not me that's creating that smell of fresh meat that I'm sure they've just got a trunk full of. There's another one coming behind us. I think that's what she spotted. You can see the posture changing. She's nervous. And we've got a standoff. Now, I am actually perfectly happy with this elephant that is in front of me. It's feeding, it's relaxed, it's aware of what's going on, but not too stressed out. Just want to make sure that I don't have one sneak up behind me. It's really important in this kind of situation to make sure that we don't come into what's known as misplaced aggression from the elephants. And what that means essentially is elephants are not fond of predators. We've seen some extraordinary scene of them chasing elephants. No, not chasing elephants, sorry, chasing wild dog, chasing lions. And hyena are absolutely no different. And they're also particularly pungent. Now, at the moment, the wind is playing to the hyena's advantage, but that's going to change. Although I think the elephant is aware of what's going on. But yeah, If we do find ourselves in a situation where there is an elephant coming towards the hyenas, I'm going to move backwards away slightly, just so that we're not in the middle of the two. Especially now that there's a helicopter flying overhead, as you can probably hear. Doing some kind of survey, perhaps whatever their purpose may be. Elephants don't like them very much. Tends to unsettle them. While we wait for this helicopter to go past and the elephants to decide what to do, let's head to James, who's also got some of our giants of the bush.
Lots of little elephants, or lots of big and little elephants here, far on the western boundary of Arethusa. A really lovely herd. And I'm speaking quietly because they were a little nervous when we pulled up, but now they seem to be pretty relaxed and chilled out with what's going on, which is marvellous, of course. No one wants angry elephants around the place. An angry elephant is, of course, a terrifying elephant. This is fantastic. And they're just looking at us, watching carefully, seeing that we mean them no harm, which of course we don't. Just watching, deciding if we're a threat, hopefully going to assess that we are not a threat. And that little one there, underneath its mother's belly, tiny, tiny little elephant. Isn't that fantastic? So tiny. Oh, that's wonderful. They've now decided that we're safe enough to walk past. Isn't that awesome? Ooh, just listening. Decided they're not quite comfortable yet. A little one right underneath there. Now, we had a question about elephants lying down earlier today. And elephants like that little one there will absolutely lie down, especially if the herd stops for more than sort of 3 seconds. They always seem to look very tired indeed. And look at the beautiful colours of the grey earth with the grey elephants, and just a little touch of green in the bushes behind. Kirsty, I'm afraid I can't hear you. Oh, there's a young bull there with quite big tusks. Do you get that, Wium? No. Kirst, if you want us to link, just give us a double click. See, the little one is suckling there, but that's a young bull giving nonsense. Yeah, it's a young bull pushing a young cow around. And he's probably sort of beginning that process where he'll come into a sort of his first must, if you like. And his testosterone levels will go up, and he'll become a bit of an irritation, and eventually he'll become too much of an irritation, and that very big cow at the back will chase him out. She'll say, "That's it. It's time to leave home. Off you go." Fantastic. And they're just talking quietly to each other. You won't be able to hear it. Going. I'm going to go back around the road there. I think we might get one nice view. I don't want to disturb them too much. They were a little bit nervous when we came up, and they seemed to relax quite nicely. And so what we want to do is just maintain that trust that we've managed to build. All right, we're going to go back to Jamie while we reposition, find out what's happening with those hyenas.
Ellie. I'm just trying to sum up exactly what is the best approach to this situation. The lions have just, the elephants, I think, have just found that second lioness. They're busy trumpeting and chasing her. It's the chopper that actually worries me, especially in this thick, dense vegetation. We're going to be taking it very cautiously with these elephants. Hello, boy. It wasn't me. Promise. I'm not flying the chopper, and I didn't kill the buffalo. Thank you, boy. He's still perfectly relaxed, but the elephants behind me are absolutely not. I can hear them trumpeting away furiously. Impossible at this point for me to know if they are busy shouting at the lion or if they're busy shouting at the hyena, or indeed if they're busy shouting at each other, but I don't think so. That sounds to me like a predator-elephant trumpet, like they're trying to tell the predator to absolutely go away. And while we monitor our elephant situation, let's head back to James and see what his Leviathan's up to.
Oof, there's some quite interesting stuff going on here, everybody. That young bull has got himself into rather an excitement with the young cow. He's chasing her around. She's about as interested in him as, well, I suppose, as most teenage girls are and teenage boys that are sort of trying to over-impress themselves. And I think there's maybe a little bit of water here in this depression. Trouble. One of these cows will have a real go at him if he continues. I think that's the cow, is it, BMP? That he was chasing, or was that him?
I think so, it's one of the two.
What? So since there's a, just got to try and call these in. There's somebody coming in now. Hello, Sean. That's Sean from Arethusa. He's just coming in to have a look at the elephants. But now everything seems to have calmed down quite a lot. Which is, I suppose, a very good thing. We'll just shift forward a little bit so that Sean can get a decent view. And you can also maybe get a better view of the little ones. There's a bit of mud maybe, but there's no water for them to drink in this pan. Just ease around the corner here. There's a young bull. And just move like that. We're not going to drive off road. We don't do that during the drought. Yeah, they're just digging out some mud, you know. There you go. There's the little one, tiny little one coming in to include himself. Fantastic sighting of elephants. And oh, here we go. Here's some interesting stuff going on right here. These elephants are now only about, oh, I don't know, 10 feet from us. Young bulls. And to have a little bit of a box close by, which is great. That's fantastic. Isn't that amazing? I mean, you've got full frame elephant there, and you can see they've been fighting, because the one behind there has definitely got a bit of a cut just underneath his eye, and I think that's precisely it's from exactly what you're seeing there. I think they're going to run over us.
I'm wondering about it. I've seen
So
them
am I.
smashing trees.
A couple have just crossed behind us, but let's just watch these bulls here. That's a young one, so it's not anything to worry about. But these are all young bulls sort of feeling their way around life. Now watch the trunk go into the mouth. I'm not going to start the engine. They're just saying hi. That's how they say hi. Trunk into the mouth. This is unbelievable. What a fantastic sighting. Those things are only about 8 feet behind us. 2 young bulls. You can see they're muscling each other, and you can see how they could easily have a bit of a problem with the tusks. This chap is now coming right up to us. Okay, quickly, we're going to go across to Jamie. She's got elephants now chasing hyenas.
Guys, I've retreated out of the way, and it's a very good thing I did, because that elephant bull has just come racing out of the bushes and chased the hyena away. I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on him. I've got a termite mound between him and me. That, of course, is not ideal, and with the helicopter racing around, I'm actually not going to stay in this sighting. There's too many elephants around, and there's too little visibility. I can't see what's going on. I can't see exactly where I need to put myself and Dave. But through all of that, we need over to James and his elephants.
Now that, everybody, is not what it looks like. It's dominance behavior. It's 2 young bulls. That isn't a cow in front there. And sometimes, in fact, there are many, many species where that happens. Where a young bull will try and impress himself on basically the other young bulls to sort of create a dominance hierarchy. It's not a cow he was chasing. So earlier on I thought it was. Now here's a young cow to the other side of us. Sorry, Wium, you're going to have to flick around here. And she's also trying to avoid the bulls. I can tell she's a young cow because she's got slightly swollen mammaries. They're in between her front legs, of course. There she is. Here come the bulls. This is unbelievable. It's a most fantastic elephant sighting, while the mature cows and the youngsters sort of play, or not play in the mud, they get on with the business of covering their bodies in mud. They're all just relaxed over there. This is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Spend this all day standing here. Oh, young cow. Got a fright. Because Sean started his car. That's not Sean's fault. And here go the elephants now. They're thinking of moving past. I'm just going to sit here and let them go. They are very close by. They're very close by now. Just sit still, everybody. Don't make a noise. That's the matriarch there. I think that tuskless cow. We know her. They are so close now. Just 2 feet. I am taking a picture, as you can see. Sometimes it's just better to use your cell phone. Liam, you enjoying this? This is so cool. They weren't more than 3 feet from the car. They didn't react to us at all. It's so special when that happens. Sometimes all is right with the world, even when you have had a very sort of a quiet drive. Just fantastic, everyone. I'm going to move out the way so that Sean can get past, and I think we'll carry on. They're going to go down, I think, into this drainage system. That's where we saw the Matimbas the other morning. How are you? It has, yes. Good morning, everybody. Hello, everybody. Ah, sorry about that. Amazing. Just a wonderful sighting, yeah. All right, we're going to press on and see what else we can see. Enjoy. No, we'll go around that way. Cheers, Sean. That's Sean from Arathusa, everybody. Thoroughly nice fellow. What a brilliant elephant sighting that was. Ha! Unexpected. And you know, we saw them coming across the road. I thought they were going to be a bit nervous of us, but I tell you what, you spend the time with elephants and they are just the most rewarding animals to spend time with, I think. On we go. And thank you very much for all your wonderful screenshots. Very good to see them always at the end of drive. Thoroughly enjoy that. Especially, well, sometimes it's a little discouraging given that, you know, most of my efforts at taking photographs of them are normally worse than the screenshots you manage to take from thousands of miles away. But you know, you have to seek inspiration, I suppose. Right, we're going up the western boundary of Arathusa now. And look, nothing's been seen here, but I don't think anyone's been driving around here too much. With any luck, we'll come across the Anderson male sitting somewhere on a termite mound or in a tree. We don't know where Tingana is at the moment. This is the kind of boundary between Tingana and the Anderson male's territories. Tingana, of course, our 9-year-old male leopard, the dominant, completely dominant male of this area at the moment. And you can tell we're on Arathusa because the what seem to be speed humps but are actually mitre drains are tremendously impressive. And every so often you'll see the nose of the car rising and then thrashing down again. That's when we hit a mitre drain. So it's this drainage system now to the left-hand side of us that is the boundary. Lynn, I've really got very, very poor communications with the final control. I think your question is, have we seen any wild hogs lately? I think, and the answer is no, not for a while. We don't know where they've denned or if they've denned or not. So, yeah, it's difficult to say what they're doing at the moment. And certainly haven't had any reports of them either for a long time. Right, there's a pan round the corner here. There was a hippo in the pan, and you know what's interesting is that that hippo from Arathusa Dam seems to have gone away. So he's not there anymore, and he wasn't there yesterday evening. Let's quickly go across with Jamie with the hyenas.
We have moved into a safer position for both Dave and myself and Wendy, and so have the hyena actually. They've moved into a more open spot away from where the elephant bull was chasing them. Unfortunately, although it was an extraordinary sighting, it just made more sense for us to, especially with a helicopter flying about, we can't predict where the helicopter's going to go. And as a result, we can't exactly predict what the elephants are going to do. So if you throw in that factor, plus predators, plus a lion, plus some hyena and a buffalo kill, plus a human being in a car, and you've just got to be a bit more sensible about things. Now, the hapless victim of all of this, the hapless victim of this entire situation was Brian's pillow. Now, Dave, where was Brian's pillow? You were sitting on it, Dave. And were you still sitting on it when we got to the sighting, Dave?
It had gone down.
It had gone, and we'd lost Brian's pillow, hadn't we?
Almost to the hyena.
Almost to the hyena. We had to go and save Dave's pillow, which we have now safely done. We've also, it's a pleasure, Dave. We've also removed ourselves from a relatively dangerous situation. So for the last half an hour, we're going to search the area. In the meantime, James has got another primate for you.
There are the baboons, everybody. We did eventually find them. They're climbing in a ziziphus tree, which of course has got many, many thorns on it, but it doesn't seem to affect them. And I think they're probably eating the dry fruits, which have oftentimes been used as a coffee substitute. They're actually quite nice to eat, just plain, not ground up and soaked in water and put through a percolator. That's exactly what they're doing. Now, a baboon, you probably can't see there, is probably about 3 times the size of a monkey. A big male baboon weighs about 70 kilograms, a big male monkey probably about 20, and these guys are proper entertainment. If you can get them in shot for long enough, you will see fighting, you will see flirting, you will see grooming, probably more than likely see a form of mating as well. They are endless entertainment if they're not too deep behind the bushes. Again, because you can kind of relate to how they behave. I love watching them, I must say. Now there will be one, I don't know if you can see that one, Wium. Maybe no, I think you're unsighted. There's one sitting up top, just slightly higher than the others, with his cheeks full of food. And every so often one of them will go up high, sit down and just check around the place. There, that's him. I've spent so little time with baboons since I got to Djuma because they just don't occur very often. But it's a real joy to spend a bit of time with them now. They seem to be coming back into the area, which is wonderful. Them jumping around just like monkeys. So their social structure is very much similar to that of the monkeys. There's a stratified sort of hierarchy between the males and the females, but the simple fact of the matter is that the larger you are as a male, especially, the greater your status. And so you don't want to be born small in a baboon troop. And it's interesting, you know, the closer you get to human beings, in other words, the larger the brain gets, the less, or size, I mean, still matters hugely in human beings, but the less it seems to be, or the luckier smaller people can be. Oh, that one's making an enormous dump. That's just appalling. Thank you, Wium, for filming that. Everyone should see that in the morning. It's definitely Sisyphus that they're eating. Anyway, back to my little story there. So, human beings, we know that, some small people have dominated many parts of human history. The same cannot be said just about for any other animal, where the dominance hierarchy is almost always predicated by the size that you happen to be. And it's interesting that the closer you get to human beings with primates, the less that applies. So in the chimps, for example, while size is unquestionably helpful if you're a male and you're trying to be dominant, your ability to manipulate the other chimps in your troop becomes even more important. And, of course, the largest brained primate, the human being, is exactly the same. Where size does matter, but if you're clever enough, it doesn't matter if you're a little guy, you can still kind of succeed and dominate. If dominance could be considered true success, I suppose. Ooh, a nice question from Winter is coming. I managed to get that from the final control. You say, are baboons dangerous? No, but they're not dangerous inherently. They'll move away from us. If I got out of the car here and ran at them, they'd almost certainly scuttle out of that Sisyphus tree and run for their lives. But they can be dangerous in areas where tourists, not necessarily only tourists, but where people feed them. And despite endless, repeated, constant warnings and beggings especially in Cape Town, for example, where there are lots of baboons, despite the beggings that people don't feed them, people do feed them, and then they lose their natural fear of us. And it's the same with monkeys, and then they can become dangerous, because then if you don't give them what they want, they become aggressive, and an aggressive baboon is scary. They're very big, they've got much larger teeth than even a male lion has, and so they are terrifying, and they're very, very strong. Much stronger than any human being. So they're not inherently dangerous, but like all animals out here, if you upset the sort of natural state of things, then absolutely they can become dangerous. But they're certainly dangerous to animals that try and hunt them. So leopards will very seldom take on baboons. Young males will try and catch baboons. They're about the only ones till they've learnt a lesson. Baboons will turn on leopard, and they will do some serious damage to them, because they are bigger and probably about as strong in many cases. Maybe just not quite as fast. That's a really stunning baboon sighting there, Wimpy. I don't think we've had one before, have we?
They always run away.
Yes, they've always run away. Just very peacefully having breakfast in the Sisyphus tree. All right, let's move on from them. There are actually elephants all around us, and the ones up ahead are looking a little bit skittish, and I'm just wondering, hoping, probably just projecting, that there might be a predator about to emerge from the bushes. Let's just ease our way forward here. Oh, there's some zebra. It's all happening here. It's all happening. Beautiful zebra sighting. And there you can hear the baboons going, squealing at each other. That'll be two youngsters fighting with each other. And some elephants walking past. There's a very cross elephant, semi walking past. That's a cow and probably her two youngsters. We'll just let her go gently by. Righty. Very nice. Yeah? Not a bad return really for the western edges of Arethusa. We'll go and find that big gigantic leopard now, yes. I'm amazed we still have signal. That's fantastic news. Rusty doing a sterling job. All right, let's go across to Jamie, get an update from her. We're going to start heading east.
Oh, while James heads to the east, we've come a little bit further to the west. Let me tell you something, finding my way out of that block was a very interesting experience because I had absolutely no idea where I was. I now know where I was, but I found my way home by following the fantastic Voyatella mast that allows us to broadcast our signal from final control. So we have the mast to thank for our safe return onto more well-known, better trodden ground. Speaking of well-trodden ground, I've just come through to the hyena den just out of curiosity because I think that female left to come back to her cubs, and she did. Hello, girl. She was there, definitely. I can still see the blood on the side of her face, but she's come back as soon as the elephants came through. Hello, girl. She came back. And now we play the waiting game to see if those little bundles of joy are going to pop their heads out or not. She's looking a little bit beaten up, which is to be expected. It's pretty standard hyena behavior. She's kind of got a bit of a black eye and a cut underneath her cheek. Submissive or a lower ranking female coming into a kill. At least she's managed to get some food to provide for herself and for her little ones. Hey, girl, and I think you made a very sensible decision departing when you did, because the elephants stormed the area. She was always the most nervous looking, and I think immediately wanted to return to the safety of her cubs. Oh, has it been something of a long day, girl, or a long night? You okay there, Dave?
All good.
You got a couple of leaves down your throat. Yes, me too. I've got one in my eye as well. Very interesting experience. Oh, and our female hyena has flopped down to sleep off a very large meal and to suckle her cubs. John, as our sun really starts to come through after a spectacular morning, a really incredible morning, it's been absolutely phenomenal. We heard the crunching of the bones as the hyena fed on that carcass. And I'm sorry, I need to put my hat on. No point adding to the blindness that's happening. You wanted to know, while we were listening to the crunching of the bone, how much of the bone that those hyena will eat. I'm just keeping an eye on her at the same time. And whether or not it has any nutritional requirements. Nutritionally, yes, absolutely it does. So what hyena are capable of doing, where the big cats can, but generally don't, is cracking open the big bones like the femur, the humerus, the radius, the ulna, the tibia, the fibia, so the leg bones, essentially. Now, in those leg bones is the most incredible amount of very nutritious spongy bone, the marrow, essentially. And a hyena has jaws capable of making use or getting to the marrow of each bone. It also comes with a very, very high level of calcium. Awesome. Perfect example there from Dave. Thank you very much. A bone that has been brought back and desecrated by the hyenas of the Mvubu Road den. The Djuma clan is thriving from what we've seen today. And just to sum up exactly what went on in my head throughout the morning, when the lionesses came here, I felt sure they were coming to check on cubs, but I knew that they'd just come from a kill because, as one of you pointed out, she had a bloody face. They then, unexpectedly, I didn't expect that to happen, popped out at the nearest water source. Not at Galago Pan, though, and I'm not entirely sure why they went to Tambuti Dam, unless they were looking for the rest of the pride, because they might have been aware that the hyenas were close by. When they went... I thought I heard a lion. Sorry. That might have been my stomach, though, come to think of it. My mistake. No, I think that was actually my stomach rumbling. It's almost breakfast time. That's very embarrassing. Very, very embarrassing. Not the first time I've done that either. But anyway, the lionesses came back, but they looked nervous, and we lost them in that block completely. It was only because we heard the vocalizations, the contact calling of the hyena, that we knew exactly what we were about to stumble in on. The most incredible sighting to have started off just before our television moments this afternoon for our Father's Day special. It's also Wendy's gentle groaning. Sorry, Wendy. I'll give it some very tender, loving care. So an extraordinary sighting. It shows us that this hyena clan advantage in numbers is a huge thing, and that when there are enough of them, they can overcome 2 lionesses. That being said, if it had even just been one male, things would have been slightly different. If it had been the 2 lionesses and the male, things absolutely would not have gone that way, and the lions probably would have managed to defend that carcass. I'm interested as well as to how quickly the vultures found it. It makes me wonder whether or not that actually happened sometime yesterday. I saw vultures here yesterday. I didn't see them descending or giving any sign that they were following up on a kill, but perhaps they were just stragglers. So we've got an interesting saga that's developed, and some of it's guesswork, and some of it is an amazing sighting that we got to witness. And now we've sort of calmed things down a little bit. We're with the female that's just had her babies. They've only just started to come out, and we're just waiting for those tiny little black shapes to stick their heads out. Luckily for us, the cubs of hyenas are particularly... Sorry guys, I'm just listening to updates on the Game Drive channel at the same time. My head's going in 20 different directions. The cubs of hyenas are particularly curious, and they do enjoy poking their noses out at a very young age to come and see what's going on in the world around them. Hard to believe. Those sub-adults that we saw, some of them were baby, tiny little brown bundles of fluff just 1 year ago, already old enough to start participating in moments like we just witnessed and helping the clan to chase away the lionesses. It's a difficult one. You can't really choose the teams because you feel sorry for the lioness. You feel sorry for the hyena who got chased away by the elephant. Probably most of all, one should feel sorry for the buffalo who had the worst of it all, I imagine. But luckily, the one thing that you can take comfort from, I know that the lionesses have cubs and that getting food is an important part of that. So did the hyenas, though. But they had very full bellies. So they did get to eat a lot of that carcass before they got chased off it. And we'll try and follow up on them this afternoon, I guess, and figure out where exactly they went. The elephants were screaming at something that wasn't a hyena, which makes me think it was the lioness, and they might have just chased her further towards the road, which is great because that block is not terribly easy to get into. Come on, babies. Still got a few minutes to pop out. I don't think they're going to, though. I think because Mom's just arrived home, they're going to be very, well, I say babies, we only know of one, but 1 or 2, they're going to be very preoccupied with filling their bellies. The younger they are, the more often they need to feed. And while we sit and play the patience game, as Brent terms it, let's find out how far James has got on his eastwards journey.
We're just doing a little boat trip down the Marakani River at the moment. It's a very pleasant time. We've seen a few impalas and one warthog that was missing a tusk. So I thought he wasn't a very good TV warthog, so we didn't go across to him. But we're just hoping maybe there might be some tracks of either Tingana, perhaps Shadow along here. Of course, we're nearly at the end of the drive, but good prospects for the afternoon if we can find some decent tracks here, and of course for our TV show. So please do join us for our TV show. You don't have to watch us on TV if you don't want to. You can just watch us on the internet like you normally do. And it's going to be 3 to 5, so it will be an hour shorter than normal. But like I say, we've got the tent going, which is great fun. We've got Jamie and Brent out on drive, Steph on walk. We've got the rover working at the waterhole, the Juma Dam cam, a whole lot of new art. Oh, and a microscope. Let's not forget the microscope in the tent. So So we've got all kinds of exciting things. Now, a wonderful question from Nakele in Johannesburg about whether it's possible to watch the TV broadcast in South Africa. No, it's not. It's only being broadcast, I don't know how it works technically, but in the United States. So you can't watch it on TV unless you happen to be in the United States, as far as I'm aware. But anywhere else in the world, you can just watch it on the live stream. So internet everywhere else, only TV in the US. And I'm not sure how or why that works, but the legal stuff around TV regions and where you can broadcast things and where you can't and how you get these shows out is so complicated as to be almost unfathomable. And they'll probably actually complicate themselves out of existence with the advent of far wider broadband availability. We'll be broadcasting exactly the same kind of signal as far as I'm aware. You'll be getting a high definition signal on your TV and also onto your computer screens. There's a warthog, a very large boar. Hello, fellow. Not normally this confiding. Normally they run away from us, don't they, Wium? The world's slowest photographer has managed to miss that option. And in the background you can hear maybe the lovely sound of a pearl-spotted owl. Move a little bit forward. See if we can get a view through here. There we go. He's a lovely big fella. Hooray, I got a picture of a warthog. It's blurred and will be totally unusable, but I did get one picture.
How did you not get that one?
Because I'm a useless photographer, that's why. Anyway, everybody, while I try and take one more photograph of this warthog and beat Wium for saying nasty things about me while we're live. Thank you, Wium, for your efforts today. We're going to hand you back to Jamie for the last few minutes. Thanks for being with us, and please come and join us for our TV show today at 3 o'clock. Until then, bye-bye.
The prospect of the TV show. I said this morning when I started out that my stomach was filled with butterflies. I got distracted from the butterflies completely when we had that incredible sighting. It's now at the point, I said it's going to turn into tumbling honey badgers by the time the afternoon arrives. It's now somewhere in between. I'm not entirely sure exactly what that is. Perhaps not tumbling honey badgers, but perhaps sort of squirrels dashing about a little bit, just running from place to place. That's what it currently feels like in the pit of my stomach, but I am looking forward to seeing all of you on the back of the vehicle with us on live television. And hopefully these little ones will come out and give us a really special sighting. Not that we can complain, can we, Dave?
Not at all.
I think actually, Dave, high five for that. High five for that. I think we owe a very big thank you to Dave for all of his fantastic camera work, to our lovely, lovely ladies in Final Control. But most importantly, a huge thank you to all of you for joining us on this sunrise safari. Don't forget to catch us for a very special Father's Day edition of the Sunset Safari. See you then. Bye-bye, guys.